Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. It's the Sunday Talk from Daishu-in West. I'm Koju. It's actually a surprisingly cool day. It's been a cool summer, actually, all in all, in southern Humboldt. We actually had rain the other day. And it's been several weeks since I uploaded one of these. Let's see, we had the ceremony, which was very well attended, and sesshin afterwards. And I had some audio problems, which hopefully are resolved. I'll have to listen and make sure. But I have I think the microphone on the little camera mic thing that I use was broken, so excuse me, my poor production quality. So there are 10,000 different ways and 10,000 paths, and that's fine. Everybody gets the teacher they deserve, right? Or the teacher they're ready for, however you want to say it. And that's not a problem. The problem is when we don't follow through with it. Or when we try and cherry pick from different ways. To a certain extent, it's inevitable, I suppose. Whatever our best intentions are, and we might have very good intentions. We might set off on the path of practice and be like, okay, I am on the path of practice because I want to see into the impermanence of all phenomena. I want to see for myself the impermanence of all phenomena. And that's where I want to get to. That is we talk about, all goals are accomplished in now, this present moment, which is true. But as long as there's the idea of a being, there's going to be goals and things to be done. And a sense of time and myself moving through time and all that stuff. So we have this, we provisionally stand up goals, and we try and make them good ones. And everybody generally does. People make decisions in their own interest, operating from the basis of a person. People naturally make decisions that they think will make their life better in the future than it is right now. That's just seems to be a rule around here. And that might mean different things. It doesn't just necessarily mean selfish goals. We might have like austere, idealistic spiritual goals as well. Not that they're any more real than any other goals. But they might get us to a nicer place than having self-centered, nasty goals. So we set up a goal like, I want to see into the impermanence of all phenomena. And start working towards that, which is a good thing. Inevitably, we go kind of astray. Things go sideways because this idea of myself and making everything that happens while we're on the path to that goal about myself clobbers us over the head, and we end up getting pulled askew somewhere. And because our goal is extremely difficult and it's extremely easy, and we're extremely habituated to getting involved with the problems of myself, we end up in some strange places. One of the places where I think a lot of people end up, and things that we all struggle with to some degree or the other, is trying a little of this and trying a little of that and cherry picking here and taking that from there and trying to then apply those things, which might be very good things, to the problems of myself, which are much easier to concern ourselves with than our original goal of seeing the impermanence of all phenomena. And so we just kind of fritter around, wasting time with this easier problem, or even just creating problems that don't exist. It's called myself. It has something to do with myself. I need the blah, 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 blah. It comes up in all kinds of different ways, but it's got something to do with myself, and it's a much easier problem to kind of get sink our teeth into than seeing into the impermanence of all phenomena. But of course, it's not going to get us where we want to go. It's a completely different thing. So it requires, I think the missing ingredient is patience, actually. There has to be this mature patience to take us from where this idea of I and what we were concerned with regularly to where we want to get to without all this distraction. It is a deep, deep listening. But it's not passive. Real patience is not really passive. It has a backbone. It has some discipline and resolve to then get where we want to be. But it's not frantic, and it's not in a hurry. It's willing to let things happen in their own time. And it acknowledges that we're not going to like the way it feels for myself to be on this path that we're on a lot of the time. And that doesn't really matter, and that we're not going to we're not going to change our minds. This is great resolve that we're going to see the path through to the end. And the other end of that patience, I think, is anger, where we just want to say the hell with it and throw the whole thing in the trash and just be a selfish jerk, which is a real problem that I certainly struggle with. And they all say, of course, that's all grist for the mill, right? Those things that come up, those selfish tendencies, are where practice happens, and that's absolutely true. But we have to keep doing it. There has to be a form that we are faithful to, that we have resolved to do, and do not stray from. We can't just adapt everything to what makes myself feel good about doing it, or what matches to my idea of how practice should be. Okay, we have to swallow the thing whole. And the thing is the present moment. It has to be completely swallowed as it is, without any sort of trying to slide away sideways, shall we say. Trying to avoid it in some way, or like, well, I would really prefer if it wasn't like this. It's just a small thing. That was just a little bit more to my liking. Then I could swallow the moment whole. But obviously that's not swallowing the moment whole, right? So where do we want to get to? That was a talk I gave a few months ago. Where do we want to get to? Are we clear about that? And do we have the resolve? Do we have the patience to hold to that path, hold to that goal, in face of all the ways that myself is going to jump up along the way and try and make it about them? Which is just another phenomena arising. It's just like you're trying to get someplace and it just starts snowing really hard. And you're like, well, I really don't want to go out in that. Well, it's like, how bad do you want to get there exactly? So and the patience is just another way of surrendering. That's the swallowing the moment whole and the patience are the same thing. But it has that element of activeness. It is a proactive patience. how bad do you want to get there? There might very well be obstacles along the way, like if you have a physical problem, if you have a mental problem. We all have our neuroses, these things that come up and demand our attention. And sometimes they're enough of a problem to where it's like, okay, I just need to take a slight detour here, and I need to handle this thing, because it's really a pain in my ass that I have to deal with this neurosis. Somebody was really mean to me sometime at one point. People do horrible things to each other, and sometimes it's like you have to deal with that, however, whatever that means to you, in your own personal beingness. Sometimes we have to take a little detour and we have to be like, okay, ouch, like I have a wound, my legs don't work right, I can't sit cross-legged, so I need to deal with that. I have something in my mental bodiness, and that needs to be dealt with before I can continue on this path to trying to get where I'm going to go. Because but a lot of stuff, we tend towards making those problems a lot bigger than they are, because it's just easier to deal with them than it is to continue dealing with the fact that it doesn't really matter what our beingness is. It's just another thing that came up. It's completely uncompromising in that way. And we just don't like that. We don't want to swallow that whole. Refusing to give the I thing primacy in all situations is kind of insulting to it, as far as I can tell. And it doesn't, it just, maybe not in a strong way, but it has this kind of sleazy, slimy quality where it slides in anyway, even if it doesn't like bash us over the head with it. And so the situation tends to be made about it. And so there's that resolve again, where that resolve comes in. And we return to the practices that remind us that it is impermanent. It is another phenomena that is impermanent like everything else. Okay, well, that's enough for today. So next week, same time, same station. As always, if you want to get in touch with the temple or do sesshin, then just send an email to the contact at Daishu-in-West.org, or call too. Is actually a good way. It's often easier to get in touch with me than it is to do the email. So anyway, the website's Daishu-in-West.org, and you can get in touch there. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.